Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Annassa. Okay, we're coming through. So today is a very big day. It's a transition day. So the first thing we're going to say is that we as Annassa are going to fade into the background a bit. We no longer want this to be Conversations with Annassa because we are by now integrated into Rebecca. And so that differentiation is no longer necessary or even desirable because we want her to be accessible to a wider range of population. And being a channel limits the people who are willing to be exposed to the information. So we are no longer going to be channeling in that way because those were like training wheels. We're done with the training wheels. They are coming off. And Rebecca is free to speak. So this is a bit of a completion and a new beginning. A bit of a death and a bit of a rebirth. So this is a celebration. And let's start celebrating with our meditation, which is the Om sound. And understand that the Om sound contains within it all four states of being. State of being awake, the state of sleep, the state of dream, deep dream, dreamless, and that which is beyond. The Om sound contains all of this, in that the Ah is completely centered in your pelvis. If you could see me, you would see that I have my hands on my pelvis. That's the Ah sound. The O sound, and it's O and U, that sound is in the heart. And then the sound is in the third eye. And the silence is beyond. And the silence that happens at the end of the Om sound is that which is beyond. So as we say the sound, we are mobilizing our energy to move upward from the tip of the tailbone, through the central channel to the heart, through the heart to the third eye, through the third eye to the energy center where your fingertips touch at the top of your halo. This is our union point with divinity. Actually, there is no union point because everything is divinity. So there's no separation anywhere. So that's all an illusion, but so is this body. But as long as we're in it, we might as well use it to know God. So the whole entire teaching is within the Om sound. So if we just do this practice, and now we do the practice in 4 ways. We do it first, making the sound. We do that. Then we do it with a whisper. Then we just watch the energy as we say the sound inside ourselves. Then the 4th is we just feel into that space that we've become. We are in the beyond. Okay? So we're going to do each one 9 times so you really get familiar with the flow in each part. So you can do it with me or at your own pace. But you want to take in the air. It's called Ujjayi breathing. You want to take it in the back of your throat. As you inhale, it sounds like this. I'll do it a few times. Can you hear that? Just a little bit. Okay, well, what you want to do is hear your breath coming in through your throat, and it feels like the air is all in the back of your throat. So that's what you're going for, and this is only the beginning of really learning this deeply. So we're going to do it a lot, and hopefully soon we'll be able to do it in person. So anyway, if you're ready, we'll start the practice. We're going to do it out loud 9 times. Then we're going to do it in a whisper 9 times. Then we are going to do it silently, just saying the Om inside ourselves and watching the energy go. And then we are just going to sit in the energy itself. And if your mind starts to wander, go back to the Om, watching and saying inside yourself. Okay, here we go. Take your attention inside. Oh. Now in a whisper. Now take your attention inside and watch the energy rise as you say the syllable silently inside yourself. Now just watch the energy begin, gather, and rise up. Gently allow your eyes to open just a sliver so that a little bit of light comes in. Keep your attention inside. Don't shift your attention from the inside. Hold it there. And now, holding your attention in the inside, allow your eyes to open just a little bit more. And then a little bit more. Still holding your attention inside. Allow your eyes to completely open. So you hold to your state. And view the world from deep inside yourself. Holding to the feeling of connection with the all of the all that is. Divinity, the highest best for ourselves and everyone else. Hold to the feeling. This is what our life is for. To hold to the feeling so that we become one with that. Always. It's our touchstone until we become the touchstone. It's what we're truly made of. So we're happy. I'm happy. This is a little bit of a transition. Happy to take your questions. Delighted to be here with you. It's funny, I was thinking this morning about my guru, my teacher of over 30 years. And the last really serious personal conversation we had. And he said to me, there's no room around me for an oracle. I don't need that. And that was either late 2018 or early 2019. And since then, all I've been able to think about in that conversation was the feeling of being rejected. I didn't have the space to actually look at the words. The fact that he perceived me as an oracle is a very interesting thing. I'm not sure what an oracle is. I would expect it to be someone who could see the future. What is seen is the futility of trying to predict the future when every human being has free will. So in that sense, being an oracle is one can see the vectors of potential in the future. But in terms of predicting actual events, not really possible, at least from here. Because there are 3 factors in what happens to us personally. There's dharma, that's what we're born with. There's karma, that's what we carry over from imprints in past lives. Although you understand all of this happens in a quantum field, not in a linear field, so past lives could be happening at this moment, and actually are, as are future lives. So past, present, and future, there is only now. And in this now, if we can become available to it, all of those lives are available to us. It's that our attention is so distracted into what we perceive as the demands of this quote unquote reality that we rarely look beyond our own navel. We contain ourselves mostly between our ears. And if we're lucky, we can inhale low enough to allow our energy to drop into our hearts, where there is the availability of some truth. The truth of connection, not only our connection to divinity, but our connection to each other. It is in our hearts that we can begin to experience our own feelings. And as we consume our own darkness, we become available to experience the feelings of those around us and begin to help them wade through their darkness. Because we become a point of light, a reference point for sharing the potential of being a complete human being, a whole being that actually experiences ourselves in union with our divinity, our source. You know, divinity has religious connotations, so we're looking for a different language, you know, that's bigger than mind, emotions, and spirit. You know, spirit is so wide, and that too implies some other. And this is not about some other. This is about what we are at our core. This is not divorced from reality or divorced from our experience. It is the ground of our experience. There is nothing out there that is going to teach us who and what we are. That is only to be discovered inside ourselves. And whenever we discover disharmony inside ourselves, which is what keeps us from our wholeness, it's dis-ease inside of us. And it is the ground of any illness that we harbor, is like the pus pocket of this discomfort inside ourselves that we have yet to address. And so as we bring ourselves into union by embracing our shadow, the things that we hide from ourselves because they're too painful, as we bring those to the surface and treat them with the medicine of Ho'oponopono, the speaking to our higher by saying, I'm sorry, thank you, I love you, thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, I love you, thank you, I'm sorry. That takes us through the layers of darkness inside ourselves until we become a source of the wellspring of wholeness And that's what we are. And we'll say it every single week. If it's not simple, it's not spiritual. There are many, 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 many teachings out there to confuse us so that we remain easily controllable. And the biggest message that makes us controllable is fear. The more afraid we are, the less access we have to our wholeness. That's a formula. The more fear, the less wholeness. So it's very important that we address our fears with Ho'oponopono, that we understand that fear, although nothing is our enemy, if we were going to say that there's an enemy in this life, it's fear. Because fear makes us easily controllable by anything that we think might alleviate that fear. When the truth is, the only real medicine is thank you for showing my fear. I'm sorry I'm not completely connected to you, my highest. I love you. I'm sorry. Thank you. I love you. Thank you for showing me my darkness, which is my fear. I love you more than I'm afraid. Thank you. I'm sorry I'm not completely connected. I love you. I love you. Thank you for being available. I'm sorry for any moment I'm not completely in contact with you and being you, which is me. There is no other. It's all one. And at a certain point, all the pronouns break down. We're clearly having that trouble this morning. The pronouns are very confusing at the moment. So Rebecca had a vision, dream, lucid dream. Hard to know what to call it. But as part of that dream, there was empowerment by many, 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 many saints. Ones that she knows and ones that she had never seen before. But they all came, placed their hands on her head, poured their teachings into her being. And now there's just that. Not just that, there's that, maybe with capital letters. So that's all available to you in this moment. You can ask whatever you want.
We do have a question. Ton, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, Tanan.
Hi, Rebecca.
Welcome.
Thank you. I had a question about the Ho'oponopono prayer. When you're saying I love you, do you say it to your higher self or do you say it to the fear?
You don't love the fear. You love what's under the fear, giving it power. We don't hate the fear either. That just invites it closer. We're neutral about the fear. fear just, is one of the things that races through us sometimes, just like anger and disappointment, embarrassment. All of these things will overtake us in different moments in our lives. That's not what we love. Although the roller coaster of our emotions is a lot of fun sometimes and completely miserable other times, that's not the source that we really love. That's the expression, the internal expression. So what we really love is the source itself, which is, in a way, it feels like atomic energy. It's like creation energy. This is what we love. We love contact with that, which is the source of all that is. So anything that's more differentiated than that is exactly that, more differentiated. It's not that it's no longer source, and not that it's no longer worthy of love. Everything is worthy of love because everything is God. But when we want to express our love to that which we are becoming inside ourselves, we love our highest, which is the highest of all, which is this creative energy itself. And all it does is create. That is there. We completely love it. We apologize to ourselves. We apologize to ourselves for not being in complete union with that, because that is the ideal for a human being. That if there's any goal worth having, it's union with our source. Because when we're in union with that, we actually become that. And then our sphere of influence expands immeasurably. Now, that's not why we're doing it. It's not because we want personal power, because the more power you have, the more likelihood is you're going to make a big mistake with that. And, that's a little bit scary to get at the level where you can make mistakes that really, really harm lots of people. That's terrifying. But if you hold to that so that that is coming through you, then that has its own life and its own expression. And when you only speak from that expression, then there need be no fear, because there's no ego. But that's very tricky because it's hard to be a human being without an ego. So all we can do is our best. So these are the perils of connection, is that there is some power that becomes available. And so it's important that everything be poured back into itself without contamination of trying to use it in any way except for its own expansion into the all of the all that is, and to try to bring everybody we possibly can into that field. Because in that field, when it becomes a field of cooperation, anything is possible. It's possible to feed every human being on the planet. It's possible to feed every being, all the animals, all the everything. Nature is built to sustain and to destroy. There are all the parts of life are going on constantly. None of them are bad. There is life and there is death. And there's this whole process in between, and that's why we have the perception of linear time, is because we know that we will not be here forever. Now, that is a possibility. Rebecca was actually given a choice. In this dream, there was a moment when a voice came and said, "Do you want to be immortal?" And she said very loudly and very clearly, "No." Because can you imagine anything worse than living forever? Not that it's not fun here, but forever is a long time. And the truth about energy is it is immortal. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. But this, being immortal, no, thank you. If that was the question. Possible the question was misunderstood. I don't know. That was just the experience. And it was after that that all the divine beings appeared and poured their union on this one.
Thank you so much.
You're
for that
welcome.
answer.
Hope that answers your question.
It does. It does. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.
I'm so glad to be here.
How may we serve further? I don't know how else to answer to say that statement. It's still we. It's just a little bit bigger. Mhm.
So it's so wonderful that so many people joined us during the meditation and missed your opening remarks. If it feels right, would you mind sharing that again?
Sure. It's worth sharing again. So in the Vedas, there are 4 states of consciousness. There's waking, there's sleeping, I think there's dreamless sleep, and then the 4th state. And they give it a name. I'm not remembering, it's Turiya something. Anyway, Turiya Tita, thank you. Am I getting the all 4 right? They're sort of right. Have to go look them up again to be really right. But it's the idea. And the last one, of course, is that which is beyond. And so in the Om sound, all 4 of these states are available. So the ah begins in the pelvis, in the sushumna, which is the central channel. But it permeates everything. And there are energy centers that become available through this practice. So there's the ah sound in the pelvis, which rises up to the oh-oo sound, which is in the heart. And then there is the sound, which is the third eye, which penetrates and comes out the top of the head. And then there is the point of union at the top of the halo. which is source energy. Now, the truth is that everything is source energy, so these different things in the big picture don't matter. But there is a certain lightness that happens as our energy flows upward. The downward happens with our breath. You can feel we take in energy. And so that down naturally happens no matter what we do. But when we unite with the upward flow, with the sound, you can see it. And the actual movement of the energy is a torus. It comes up and out in 360 degrees. It comes down around us. And then it gathers beneath us and it comes up the central channel. And it looks kind of like an apple with a core. You can look up on the internet what a torus looks like. Now, that's not the only way the energy moves, of course, but it's a starting place. It's a good one. And so all of these states are combined in that sound. And of course, the fourth is beyond sound. It's the silence that contains everything. Did I get it all, Brenda?
That's a wonderful explanation of the meditation. I'm wondering if you're available to share the statement you made when we started about things are changing today and things are different for you now, or Annassa, or Rebecca with Annassa, if you remember. It's okay. And it's okay. We have it on recording.
Really, not being able to project the future, I can't entirely say what that means. I can say what it feels like is that through this vision experience, which is really a crystallization of a process that's been going on for a couple of years of, the change in identity from being a physician to being whatever it is that Rebecca has become. Because oracle doesn't really feel like the right word either. Mostly because I'm not really sure what that is. And I don't think I've ever met one. So so language is beginning to fail. As it always does when we approach divinity, which is not to say that I think I'm a fully realized human being. I'm not going to say that ever, because there is always more. This is an endless revealing, an endless journey of revelation. And to pretend for a second that one has arrived somewhere, it's also a dynamic system. So where one is in one moment is not the same as where one is in another moment. We can be completely divine for hours a day and completely messed up and completely out of touch for other hours of the day. And so, it's important to be honest about the whole range of human experience and not deify the moments in our lives that are fantastic and Satanize the ones that aren't, because we all live in a continuum. And so when we say connection, we're talking about being connected all the time. Yes. But we've never met anybody who's achieved that, to tell you the truth. In reality, everybody has a personality, and everything that divine energy flows through every human being and manifests in its own way through every human being. But what we're saying is, if you can get as much of the bullshit out of the way as possible so that you become a clear stream for this energy to flow through you, then the odds that something worthwhile to another human being increase exponentially. And it's really an exponential increase. And so we don't mean to diminish the power of anything that has occurred here by saying that there's always more. And at the same time, we have to acknowledge that there's also the potential for a lot less. But what we do is we hold the bar high, and the really, really, really important thing is that you never lie to yourself. We also hold that it's very important not to lie to anybody else. That truth is important. And some of this may be naive pathology, because I grew up in a situation where the adults around me were lying all the time about everything, about really important things. And it was so confusing that, I've spent most of my life trying to untangle that. So I don't know that this thing about lying is not my own pathology coloring what's coming through. But it seems that there is a visceral experience when one comes in contact with ultimate truth. There's relative and there's absolute. And the absolute is this divinity, this source energy, this thing that's beyond words. Every word that is used to try to capture the experience of the one that is the all, every word is a limitation. And so, but this is the place of absolute truth, the field of absolute truth. We'll say it like that. And then everything else is relative truth. So the words are by necessity, because we're linear, relative truth. Always. So we're trying to sort this out as it comes through. It's a little bit of a muddle, but we hope we got it across. Oh, thank you. She just put a heart up. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. So how may we, this field, serve further? None of these work. You got to help me with pronouns. So happy to be here. Yes, Tanan.
Hi, this is my first time here. Is it okay to ask some personal questions?
Sure.
Yeah. I'm going through a health challenge right now, and one of the messages that I got to help me through this physical challenge is to find my spiritual roots. And I'm not quite sure what that means. And I wondered if you had any insight on that phrase, to find my spiritual roots.
Well, the first one that comes to mind is that, you're not in your original culture in this moment, but you contain within you a lineage from that culture. And so there are several ways to look at this. One is to, you could explore the roots of that lineage, although you carry it. So the way to explore it is to connect with, and we already know you're in deep connection with the grandmother who carried that lineage to you. So there is that connection to your deep roots. And in that, your grandmother is your connection to Divine Mother. They are the same. And your grandmother who has left this world is in union with Divine Mother. There's no possibility that that's not true. And so that is one access point for you. But it's also important that that not be your limitation. It's not about going back and imitating a past culture. It's about becoming a fusion of cultures so that who you become is available multiculturally, because that's what you are. So you explore your roots from where you are, not from what used to be. You're carrying what used to be. Exploring that will take you out of this reality, but you're very rooted in this reality in your life. And so it's important that you merge your awareness to encompass the past, the present, and the future, because there's only now, right? And now contains all of that. So embracing your roots means embracing the old and the new and the potential, all in each moment. And actually, when we're sick is a change point, when we can actually, because of the quiet that we must hold, when our being is in repair and upgrade mode that looks like a downgrade, then it's very important to hold steady and allow your inner to expand, to show you the possibility that exists in this change, to maximize this change, even though you very much want to minimize it because it's uncomfortable. If you understand that your discomfort is just the boundaries being challenged. We say just, we don't want to minimize. It's powerful. Allow yourself to become whatever you're meant to be. What creates the fear is the not being able to see what it is, who it is you're meant to be. So we're afraid of what we can't see. And so this is the place of faith. There are very few places in this whole process where we have to have faith. But the most critical one is when we're facing the unknown in ourselves as we go through change. And one of the major points of practicing Ho'oponopono all the time is because in our hour of need, which is when we can't see what's coming in front of us, and this happens when we go through any death and rebirth process, which happens all the time. It happens usually when we have a big loss. We go through a death and rebirth. Some kind of loss happens to us. And then the ultimate is when we lose our own life. So we weren't going to talk about this part, but clearly we have to talk about it. So as part of this vision, it's all tangled up in astrology that's coming as visceral experience. So a couple weekends ago, Pluto was on my sun for the entire weekend. Now, Pluto is the planet of death, rebirth, regeneration. It's the farthest planet that we engage with from the Earth. Pluto, for some reason, is really potent for me, I suppose, because it's been on my sun. It's been grinding back and forth over it for several years now. And this is why I went from doctor to whatever I am now. It's complete, wipes the past and begins a new life. So in the moments when Pluto was conjunct in opposition, direct opposition to my sun, I had this vision in the middle of the night. And it started out like this. I was lying down flat on my back. It was dark. I didn't know if I was awake or asleep. And then I couldn't tell if I was alive or dead, if I had a body or didn't have a body. And I started to get uncomfortable. And so I went into my heart and I said, Ho'oponopono. Thank you, I'm sorry, I love you. Thank you, I'm sorry, I love you. And my body began moving through space. Not of its own volition, just flat, moving feet first, forward. And these visions started to appear around me of people doing things. They were doing mundane things. Mostly it didn't even register what they were doing because I was trying to manage myself. And so this continued for a while, all these images and floating through this space. And then there was this man attacking a woman off to the right. And I started to go there because I wanted to help her. And as I started to move off my center, I started to disintegrate even further. And so something in me just went, and I brought myself back, Ho'oponopono, till I was in myself. This was still happening. I still wanted to go there. I tried again. Same experience, started to disintegrate, pulled myself back. Then I kind of took a breath and said, okay, all of this is illusion. The only important thing is to hold to my inner. I just kept saying Ho'oponopono and moved past that, still feeling sadness that I couldn't do something. But moving forward, allowing. And then there were several other things that started to magnetize my tension. And every time that happened, I pulled myself back. This went on for some time. Suddenly I could see the planet Pluto. It was black on black, this black circle in front of me, sphere, and just a tiny rim of light enough to see that there was a sphere in space. Everything was dark. And this voice came and said, "Do you want to be immortal?" And I said, "No." And then all these saints, beings appeared. A lot of them. First ones that I recognized, ones that I've either read about or studied or felt, or a few that I studied with. And a few were noticeably absent. And then at some point I woke up in my bed. I was like, wow, what was that? I think I should write it down. And that was the entire experience. There was actually a lot more. There was a lot more, all of these things going past me that, I had to decide not to engage. That was, I think, a bit more complicated than I'm relating it, but a lot of that has faded. So that was the experience. And there were several other experiences leading up to that. I had 3 visitations or encounters with Pluto prior to that in the past year and a half. So I don't know why Pluto, except that proximity to my sun. And sun in Vedic astrology is your identity, your ego, your personality, your character. Your sun is the Atman, the God, the Godhead. It's all very masculine in Vedic astrology. So is that what you were asking?
It was a lot more than, yes. Thank you so much for your answer and for sharing your story. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Good. You're looking much better now. Are you feeling much better?
I am feeling better. I feel like I have a broader understanding of what's happening. Mhm.
So transitions are like that. And the most we can say is allowing that change is really, really important. That's how you maximize the benefit to yourself and everybody else. That's the place of faith. The moment of faith is when you reach for Ho'oponopono instead of fear. And you steady yourself, even though you have no idea what's next. And we all have this. Every single one of us is going to die. And this was probably a death experience. This is what happens when we die. And if you understand that we have lots of small deaths along the way, then those are practice. They become practice. We say Ho'oponopono and we allow our lives to be. It is through our great losses, it's through our great the experiences that change us from the depths of our toes to the tops of our heads, that just, completely life takes us and picks us up and turns us upside down and shakes everything, and you kind of have to start over. Those are the experiences that we end up really growing from. Every single one of us, if we look at the experiences that really made a difference in who we are, and to a person, I would bet we would say that we're grateful for those experiences, even though they beat the crap out of us. They did, literally. Those are the experiences that we remember after some time with some appreciation, because they made us into bigger and finer people. It's why we're on this call. We've had experiences like that. And so we understand when life gets really icky. Not a very enlightened word. When life gets icky. That's when faith is important, and we just say Ho'oponopono. It can become the equivalent of a security blanket in a very insecure place. Because it's us reminding ourselves and attempting against all odds to hold to our connection to the highest in the midst of the unknown. This is the gift of Ho'oponopono. Yes.
Question in the chat. I find I don't always know the truth for myself, so I have definitely lied to myself, though it may have been accidental or from matrix of belief. Can you please shed light on this?
Well, this question kind of drips with the idea of reward and punishment. Like lying is a bad thing. And so, it's almost a confession. And here's the thing, that all of us are doing the best we can all the time. It's definitely my observation that everyone I have ever met, no matter how misguided, is doing the best that they can with what they have. And generally, that's the truth. It's rare that people give up and just, try to make mayhem. That's rare. And so truth is relative. And in our quest for something higher, we have to get beyond punishing ourselves. The whole point of Ho'oponopono is that I'm sorry is us apologizing to ourselves for not being connected. We're not apologizing to anybody else or anything else for bad behavior. I think the way we train ourselves should very much be the way people train dogs, which is basically you ignore bad behavior and you reward good. Because, usually most people's bad behavior is about trying to numb the pain of whatever's happening inside and around them. And so, lying in the field of relative truth is about that, usually trying to avoid responsibility. And since you can't really lie to yourself because you always know the truth if you allow it to be heard and felt, it becomes an issue of how badly you're going to punish yourself. And the truth is, the worst punishment we can do to ourselves is remove our connection to the highest. That's the worst punishment we can do. Because then we're lost. We're truly lost. Without our connection to our highest self, we're lost. There's nothing to hang on to. There's no value. And you know, that connection comes with our birth. It's our birthright. So it's very important that we not punish ourselves out of that right. RIGHT, birthright, to be connected to the highest. You don't have to earn it. You can't earn it. Nobody deserves it. We've all been given it. It's part of what we are. If we were not connected, we would not be breathing. It is the source of our breath. Simple as that. And if we feel into the source of our breath, we are feeling into the source of our life. And we are feeling into the Om sound. We're feeling to that which is beyond. It's there for everybody. We've tried to connect you to a practice to get you there really quickly, like as quickly as possible. And it is our self-punishment that keeps us from being there. And our self-punishment was taught to us by our matrix of belief, which was handed to us by our peers and elders without our consent upon our arrival. And now that we're adults, we get the chance to sift through it and create a new matrix of belief that has as its heart our connection to our source. And it's as simple as that. Life is about connecting to that. Spiritual practice is connecting to that, holding to that no matter what. And Ho'oponopono becomes a lifeline to our connection to our own divinity. And speaking the Om sound within and around us connects us immediately. Oh. There we are. And then as we go through our day, we can just be feeling that Om. All we have to do is watch. Breathe in. Feel the energy rise up. Breathe in. Feel the energy rise up. And that is very synchronous because here we are in time for meditation. So, as we said, just keep doing that. And we're going to be broadcasting for the next 10 minutes. We're just sending our energy your way through the camera. It's been so delightful to speak with you. Thank you for coming. And so now we'll meditate for a bit. And you can do the entire sequence of the 4 phases of Om to bring yourself into it. We're going to be silent because we just want to focus on you from our own contact and share. Mm. Thank you all so much for being with us this morning. What complete joy. Have a wonderful week. Till next time. Bye for now.